Oh yeah, you knew we had to talk about last night. John Cena returning. Seems like everybody was loving the return. Fans in sight, in motion. And of course, the man himself, John Cena. The fanboys were in attendance all around the world. Of course, that's why I stayed off Twitter, and of course in attendance to witness even the man himself, and the man himself in tears as usual, emotional as usual. Sorry about my creaking. Oh man. You know I had to get in the clown on him in this video. Oh yeah, boy. Boy, oh boy. Psych no. And as much as like I said, as much as I like the hatred that I had for John Cena growing up, childhood to adulthood, I could say that I honestly could say that well no, I could say that even though that hatred, stemmed and grew from being on the bandwagon, especially from when the hatred turned into, pure of not wanting to see John Cena on screen, and people were going bananas. They wanted him to go away. He was taking up too much screen time, and that's still how the way, still kind of how I feel now. But I will honestly say that even looking at the man himself and how much he accomplished and how where he came from, and especially how taken for granted still, even today. Yeah, I can admit that I took him for granted still, and because even though I was still I could I kind of still like the fact because he was still a star, and he still contributed to a part of my childhood, and he gave us memories, and he gave us the things that we would cherish, obviously, like the moments with Randy Orton and Triple H, of course, whatever, just whatever he did, so much he's accomplished, and obviously the doctor of Thuganomics. It's just that so much he accomplished in his career. And yeah, what I said before, yeah, I honestly can say that I still appreciate, like I'm keeping this respectful, and obviously giving him his roses and flowers. Even though as much as the hatred, I still can, like I will continue to do so. Like there's like John Cena, there's like wrestlers, of course, like there's a wrestlers like John Cena that I have hatred for, but at the same time, I can still, stand up and brush the dust off my shoulders and still give credit to where credit is due, and instead of being immature and just downright ignorant, you know, and being being as much as how much I hate John Cena, and just people, just straight up people I don't like, and whoever I saw when it comes to entertainment, that's pretty. That's pretty having big balls to take, but like I said, it's still respectful. As much as you can be goofy, I can be goofy as it is. I remember, I will say, because the first time I saw it, it's honestly the first time I saw it. I was like, even as a kid, because as a kid, like to where I'm much more now, much more really just eerily ruthless and like just downright crudely mean. I was much more worse younger because I took a lot of shit when I was younger, so I was I even hated him back then. I kind of liked him as Thuganomics. That's why I preferred. I instantly had a profound. It was like it was weird because it was still like because you had this guy coming in, and we had just came from the Attitude Era. Like I said, I will say now too. Yeah, like I watched some of the Attitude Era, but not like I would say like I would have started in like 99, to 2000, of course, ish. Because that was the ruthless aggression, the whole 2000s, but I could say, like, the ruthless aggression, and, the 2000s, that was my generation. That's where that's my pure childhood. That's me. But, yeah, I didn't, that when I first saw him with, of course, with the whole, first, like, it was, like, purely, it was, like, really hilarious. Really, I remember the first time, too, just really seeing him on screen. Cause he looked like even looking back now on it, it's just, he looked super goofy. Just like he is now. He looks like it's so great because there's a few rare people that has that look that John Cena has, man. It's just like he has this action figure, of course, like this generic, private soldier type of look that he could just that you can instantly look at him and you can instantly see that he has that look that is markability. And he does. Like, he has that. You can gravitate him in any sort of way. Like, you cannot deny that. And it's like the first time seeing him on that screen, and him being like, when he challenged Kurt Angle to a match, and then we all know the legendary words as it is today that basically propelled the ruthless aggression in effect. And yeah, it was insurmountable because I saw it the first time and I just instantly looked away because it was just super goofy. But I laughed, immensely hard. I just even let it look back at it. I was like, wait, what the fuck? He really dressed like that? Even just like the goofy Dr. Thuganomics when he first came out as, I was like, wait, what? Who the fuck? I was like, who is this? Who does this white boy think he is, man? I was like, what the hell? What is going on here? And I was like, yeah, it was just incredibly super goofy at the time. So, and that's why I instantly got into it, because it was like the John Cena with the Doctor of Thuganomics, and just like John Cena as a whole before he came the whole generic, I fight for rights, freedom, justice. Before he became that, that's when I started, obviously to despise him there. But it was like when he was the Doctor of Thuganomics, it was like really something that you could see. Like, it was it was just clear diversity right there, and it was just like something in him that you haven't seen before. Yeah, I will say also that you have individuals, because they like to suck them off right now, but you have individuals right now today. You have an audience that chanted so much about how they hated him, and of course, the whole movement with the rise above hate. That's why he had that shirt, and then you had the whole, just Cena sucks. Let's go, Cena. Cena sucks. Yeah, I was there for that, all throughout that, and I, proudly chanted myself a couple of times, and to go back to that and see how it, how he took that and was able to still take that in, and even going into now today. I will say also, y'all wish y'all had someone like John Cena right now. Even though you could say it's Roman Reigns, and I will say too, like Roman Reigns, it's obvious that everybody wanted him to turn to that character, but it was never like, it was to a point. He was just like, because it's kind of similar, because like, his push, it was like, because John Cena's push gradually took over time and it came organically. Roman Reigns was already at a point in time where WWE was steadily on the decline, and they was just gravitating towards anybody that had, especially the Benoit family. They loved, like, Vince loves to kiss the butt cheeks open, between the butt cheeks, dookie hole between the Wyatt family. But yeah, this is at a point in time, obviously, where that was where the Shield had disbanded and everything like that. They both all went their separate ways, and they were just trying to gravitate toward anybody to take the mantle after John Cena, and then everybody just. I think when it comes to the hate between John Cena, because you have the hate and love relationship with John Cena, but then with Roman Reigns, because it's even talked about still about how you probably have a lot of people that just look at Roman Reigns and they still talk ish about him, and they run him down into the dirt and feel like he ain't it. And I kind of testify that to some degree because you had at a point in time you had where they was trying to push him and just immensely refusively just trying to shove Roman down our throats, and it was just I wasn't there for that because I was already when CM Punk left, of course, because I started that love and passion for me for wrestling started to really return, but as soon as CM Punk left, that's when I stopped. It was like on and off. I stopped tuning in. That's when that whole year, especially 2014, because I already knew, and then I was already by that point, because I was early 2014. I had already stopped watching because I knew he was gonna leave. Because as much as I love and think about it now, and I knew that probably had Triple H, I knew had Triple H and obviously Vince had something to do with it. So I just stopped watching beyond that point, especially for the whole year. Because the on and off started, I would say in 2017. I would say it's 2017, but 2014 that's when I officially, because I was already stopped watching it by that point, but like not the late 2000s when it started, but by that point, going into 2014, that's when I officially just stopped watching it, just at all. I was not watching the product, not watching wrestling at all. Did not give a F. I was like, I'm done with this. And you were shoving Roman Reigns, but at everybody's throats, and people hated it. I don't even think people care too, because they about the whole thing about wanting Roman to go heel. That didn't matter. It's because Vince was trying. They were trying so hard to make him come off as a babyface, and people just didn't care. So I feel like when you compare the hate to John Cena, it's like a love and hate relationship, and to a point where nobody really cares. Even now, nobody cares. And, that hate is instantly gone. You might have some like individuals like myself that still exist, obviously, but no, I don't care. Like, it really doesn't matter anymore. Being that he's John Cena's one of the GOATs. He's a legend. He's engraced in history. Sorry about that if y'all hear that playing over the sky, but he's a legend right now. Nobody really cares about it. But it's like Roman Reigns. I don't know. I probably had to see after he officially retires, but even right now, to a certain degree, and that's the WWE's fault. They just because he, even at his peak, when Roman Reigns' peak, and him as a solo main event star, they tried to shove it down everybody's throats, and it's like, you can't really compare that because when it comes to Roman Reigns, his hate is just majority. It's probably it's a large margin compared to John Cena. But like I said, I will. It really will get pretty depressing, man. Even though it's kind of depressing to see that y'all. I bet y'all do look at the fact. Y'all look at the fact and think of, you really do miss John Cena. You wish you had someone, a star that existed like John Cena. Y'all wish y'all had in y'all generation. And much as y'all like to say and try to put it off as Roman Reigns, which is not, really that case. Because even so then, he gets 2 million, but John Cena still had that larger margin. You could argue that even then that John Cena is the guy that drew away a lot of the audience, so where it was prior to a height, because I've always heard that whether it started at 3 million to to 4, and it's to 7 and 8 million. and then probably because it didn't matter because John Cena still had a lot of viewers. He still had those a lot of viewers tuning in every week. So I mean, you still had people really too, a lot of money too, which is still he's obviously one of the top merchandise sellers right now too, and he had a lot of he had a lot of people tuning in every week. So much as we like to argue that case of that he's like the guy that started to draw audiences away, wrestling was already dead by that point. A lot of people had already left because of the way they was going, and how the adult orientated content started to drift away. I mean, it kind of still had it, with moments like, of course, like you had the Stacy Keibler and Trish Stratus early, how they would portray them sexually on screen and everything like that. I can't wait to talk about that. That's like a big issue as well. But yeah, because you had the whole Goofy, and that's when he started to shift to his personality. People argue that that's why that he like is one and like could be like he's one of the, obviously he is contributes to it, but he's not the main factor as to why wrestling came to what it is. Oh, sorry, I gotta catch my breath. Damn. But yeah, you wish you had a John Cena. You wish you had someone. Wish you had a star like John Cena right now. You wish you could tune in every week, because I don't even think. Cause Roman Reigns, he's still pretty much young, but it's like he's at a point too, is where he's like letting it go, and wanting to get out. But even at his probably toward the end of his prime, John Cena was even still there. But yeah, y'all, because you obviously saw last night, where and it the heart, the crack, and you see it now, the crack in WWE, to where it's just barely unwatchable, and to where nobody wanted to watch it at all. And to me myself, like I said, I will admit it that I took him for a certain type of for granted, because he's not here to hate on him now. So mad at the fact of that, but I still can, like I said, I can still appreciate the fact of him. He was still at a certain point in time. Also, just so he was still at a certain point of time. Also, where you still had good stuff on television. You obviously still had a lot of really great television going on right now. Like, I don't know, probably y'all could probably tell me y'all too. A lot of great stuff that had relate to wrestling and beyond, just solely entertainment. But you still had good, obviously probably, I don't know, you could really say the same case for music, because you still have your Drakes. Damn. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You still have your Drakes and your Lil Waynes. Like, music is still, for the certain part, I guess for this demographic, oh my gosh, I guess for this demographic, you could sort of say that, it's still, because music is still somewhat enjoyable for the mainstream casuals, because like I said, you still have your Drakes, your Lil Waynes, your Little Durks and 6ix9ine and everything like that. Yeah, it's still enjoyable at some point, and you can't really, I guess you could kind of say, probably say the main part for movie cinema too, but I guess it's still watchable, enjoyable. You can't really say the same case for video games too. It's still, because you still have your heavy hitters. You still have PlayStation still sending out the hits, and Nintendo. But you can't say the same case for wrestling, because wrestling it's unwatchable. I'm at a point. Oh yeah, I'm at that point too. I was already, but it's just, even just reviewing it, there's only so far how you can go. To a certain point, you just it's just not working. Wrestling is at a point even now, because it was not this bad. I probably would I would have begged to differ, because you still had Dolph Ziggler coming up off the ground and The Miz and I guess you could suggest Zack Ryder at a certain degree, but it was not at a point now of where it was just, oh my, like, you can't watch it. It's unwatchable. It's just utter trash. Like, it's just like shit you don't enjoy. It's like Nickelodeon to where it's just all it is. It's like you don't have like barely any SpongeBob anymore. Like, you don't have Victorious. Like, you don't have like iCarly. You just don't have none of that. It's just shit, like shit you don't wouldn't. It's like the Gubby, it's like the Wubby Gubby. Like, I don't know how to call it, but it's like the Wubby Guppies, the Guppy shit. Like, that's all you have, and that's wrestling right now. Like, it's just completely stale. It's no substance. It's no taste. No flavor. It's nothing. You can't. There's nothing that you can enjoy about it. And let's say I'll proudly say that, yeah, I took for granted, and I took for granted for a guy like John Cena, and that he's not there anymore. And I think he said it at one point in time, but yeah, like you obviously, especially the ones that, because obviously I'm gonna know that I was on a bandwagon too, but it's more stemmed from hatred of where it's like, because I honestly still believe that too, that he still contributed and he still shut out, of where he hit that stars could have been made also, even though WWE was still evident of it too, because they didn't really care, but because they didn't want another star like The Rock to leave. But yeah, it's still, like I said, he still contributed to the fact of keeping newer stars out like Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, as much as much as like Shiznit, and how much gall that people want to come out their mouths and like to say about Dolph Ziggler or The Miz. Never understood that, but humans, and you have your opinion, but yeah, I still believe that he contributed to that certain degree of shutting out newer stars. But yeah, like I said, I'm still like I can still, because I still have that, I still have the intelligence and the leadership to come out and say that, yeah, I would admit that I was wrong, and say that John Cena was a big factor. He was the last of a dying breed, like bread and butter. Like, he was that last passing of the torch. I know you can make some could say like Braun Breaker, newer stars breaking out like Carmelo Hayes, or obviously MJF, but we would have to eventually see like really like mega stars, because he was ingrained in pop culture. Like, obviously, because I don't know, people say that it was like kind of like you had some elements, obviously, because obviously you had the horror elements in Undertaker and Kane, and then obviously like because they all it had like WWE had themes that represented pop culture, like how action stars was pretty much big, and like oh, you could say like Hulk Hogan, basically, yeah, Ultimate Warrior, or I guess you could say Randy Orton and Batista, just colossal giants, and how much sheer testosterone they represented. And obviously, like I mentioned, the horror characters with the Undertaker and Kane, and oh yeah, and when it comes to John Cena, like oh yeah, Shawn Michaels also, like, he represented that pretty boy, just that I'm pretty much better than the rest of you, and you can't come to my level, that sort of way. And John Cena just represented the culture, because it was pretty, like I said, it was pretty much new, and hip hop at the height of what it was, and what you had like Snoop Dogg, you had 50 Cent. I would say because Snoop Dogg, yeah, he was still pretty big in the 2000s, like, yeah, obviously, but you had Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Eminem, obviously, yeah, 50 Cent, because those was the colossal giants, 50 Cent, Eminem of the 2000s, and Jay-Z, Ludacris, 3 6 Mafia, yeah, just Twista, Kanye West, and then John Cena represented a lot of that, and he put a lot of that into wrestling, and it's just like, I guess that's where a lot of people like really really liked him, and why his stock grew as well, because yeah, John Cena, he represented pop culture, and he took it to where, and he brought hip hop into John Cena, which is why hip hop kind of mentions why mentions also, and they mention certain characters, and it's hip hop is infused into wrestling, because John Cena brought that in to wrestling as well. So like I said, I'm big enough to admit that, and how much of a big factor and how much of an incredible character and wrestler he is. So as much as the high hate that I have for him, it's gonna be a sad sight, man. It's gonna be a sad sight to see. It's gonna be a really sad sight, and yeah, you wish you had a John Cena right now. You wish you had someone every week to have much biggest that would be as big as they are, like John Cena, to come out and just make you enjoy wrestling. And you can I wish you could say Roman Reigns. You can make all the case that you want, but, and like I said, it's your opinion, obviously, but at the height of what John Cena was and growing, like Roman Reigns is not at that point. He's not, because I can probably sit here and pretend to act like, oh my gosh, sorry, I can sit here and pretend like he was, but it's just not the truth. I mean, he could say he's obviously he's grown to be and recognize the way that he could, like, he obviously could be a heel, and that is, which is why he obviously went with something and made it work. But it's like, yeah, the height of what John Cena was, is, and now, and after, Roman Reigns could not replicate. And it's just like, yeah, I obviously miss him now. All the hate we've given him over the years, flack, and how much you told him that he doesn't matter, he does, and it definitely shows. You're missing him when he's gone. And yeah, that shows as well. Just here we are. John Cena, he would definitely be. I will say, yeah, he had to prove himself, and how much people like to say that he had a step, and that he was given. Obviously, because you have to become that, and people don't really understand that. That's why it took me to a certain type of degree to understand why, where you have individuals, you have top talents like public, much more, people who have high school fame, really, right now. I say that because I'm not, the way how I feel about humans, and I don't put, of course, I don't put humans on a pedestal, but you have individuals like Brad Pitt and Will Smith. Like, you have individuals like them, and why they have the opportunities that they have, and it's because, yeah, they had to work to get to that point, and which is why the industry favors you as well. And you look at John Cena, wrestlers like Shawn Michaels and Triple H, The Rock, and so on. And you know what, you look at to a point of where they have it to where they have it, it's because they had to work for that. People, I will admit that, I noticed that also. That how much people don't like to admit, and I had to really grow up and look back and see that, and really recognize that, that John Cena really had to work for it, because people forget, because when you go back, and the way I think about it now, and as much as research, even more research that I have about wrestling, John Cena was coming at a point in time of where he didn't have that luxury of, because he was not the initial torch to be passed. Like, he was not the guy to be going forward in wrestling at one point. And that was the beginning stages of ruthless aggression. Because you obviously had the people like to say that Legendary 4, the OW, the OVW legendary yeah, the four and Batista, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton. And yeah, you obviously had them, cause yeah, Batista, they had sheer mentors. They had Triple H, Randy Orton and Batista. They had mentors like Triple H and Ric Flair, and they had Evolution. So they had something. They was already going off of something. And then Brock Lesnar, obviously, like the mofo, he came in, man, when he first debuted too. Like he was already on a train. Like he was already just he had supersonic speed. Like he was already going to the top at that point by the time too. And he was like 24, and he already had the undisputed championship, and what he was already what I don't think he was tag team champion, but he was just at a point he looked like it too. You can't blame Vince. He had the look and everything like that. So obviously they're going to push him, and he was just a tremendous wrestler. He was a tremendous athlete, and he's just Brock Lesnar was already going. He was already making footnotes at that point. Even earlier in his life, he was just a proven star. Brock Lesnar was just bred to be a star, and John Cena, he had nobody. He had nothing to go off of. He had really nothing staple to really go off. He had nothing right at that point. Like he had to work for it. He had to get to that point to even be considered a main event level star, and he had to get to that. So it's really hilarious. And obviously, with just certain points too, when I look at the casuals, or just like obviously that you have your opinions, and as much as how much especially because they have channels, and then they like to how much they like to say now. You know who they are, but they have channels on YouTube, especially those ones. They like to say how much of a geek they are, whichever category, music or cinema, video games, and they like to say how much of a geek they are, but you look past it, and obviously you don't really know, and they don't really know anything, and it's looks like they have just that they have bias, and yeah, I'll continue to say it, man. John Cena, yeah, he had to work for everything he got, and lucky that Brock Lesnar left the way out that he did, because John Cena was not going to be. I mean, he obviously would have been a top star even today. He probably would have been kicked out. But yeah, if he still, yeah, if he was probably still in the league, he definitely wouldn't have been in the same house if Brock Lesnar wouldn't have stayed. And yeah, he would not be as big as he is today. I mean, he probably would have, but if Brock Lesnar was still there, because Brock Lesnar was that guy that was going to be the next megastar after The Rock and Austin. So, yeah, people don't recognize that. People don't look back at that, But yeah, like I said, I'll be proud to say that John Cena will definitely be missed, and he did a lot for wrestling, and he is one of the last megastars to go after. So it's going to be a tremendous regret and whole in heart blundered to know that John Cena is going out like this. And yeah, as much as praise I'll give, yeah, it's a sad sight to see, and a very happy sight to give him his roses. Thank you, John Cena, for everything he's been through, and thank you for giving us the memories that you have, that you have given us, and the illustrious career that you have, and the moments that you've given us. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.